You think you've been cold before? Scraping frost off your windshield at 7 a.m. or waiting 5 minutes for a train in January. Your ancestors would find that hilarious. We're talking about minus 40 degrees on the windswept Eurasian steppe. Minus 40 is the threshold where exposed flesh turns black and dies in minutes, where the air burns your lungs and the wind doesn't just chill you, it hunts you down. Take a modern human, drop them onto a glacial tundra in midwinter with no gear, and they are dead before midnight. Yet your ancestors didn't just survive it, they mastered it. First, let's discard the biggest myth out there, the shivering caveman huddled over a sputtering flame. That image is entirely dead wrong. Ice Age humans weren't barely getting by. They were engineering solutions with a level of physical intelligence that modern Arctic specialists still struggle to replicate. Here is rule number 1. They rarely lived in caves. Scouring sites across Eastern Europe, archaeologists uncovered massive circular pits dug 6 to 8 feet deep directly into the frozen ground. Why? Because 6 feet beneath the surface, the Earth maintains a steady temperature up to 30 degrees warmer than the lethal air above. Your ancestors realized the ground itself was a giant battery of thermal heat. It's the exact same principle behind modern geothermal HVAC systems, devised 200,000 years ago without a single engineering textbook. But digging down was just step 1. Inside 26,000-year-old shelter remains in Central Europe, researchers found evidence of walls built with 3 distinct layers. The innermost layer was animal hide, fur turned inward to trap radiant heat against bodies. The middle layer was packed moss and dry grass to pull moisture away before it could freeze. The outer layer was dense woven bark and reeds to break the howling wind. They figured out that the true enemy wasn't just low temperatures, it was internal moisture destroying insulation. Look inside the exterior wall of your modern home. Vapor barrier, insulation bat, weatherboard. The materials changed. The physics did not. Now picture standing on a treeless Ukrainian tundra 15,000 years ago, staring at a giant mammoth skeleton and saying, "That's my house." That is precisely what they did. Entire dwellings were constructed from mammoth bones. Skulls weighing over 200 pounds served as anchor foundations. Massive curved tusks locked together to form structural dome arches. Small ribs packed every gap, wrapped completely in stitched hide. When scientists built exact replicas, the thermal output blew them away. A single small fire inside a mammoth bone house kept interior temperatures 50 degrees warmer than the raging blizzard outside. It rivaled modern Arctic military tents. The heating inside was equally calculated. A main central fire provided base heat, while micro-hearths around the perimeter warmed sleeping zones. Without trees on the open tundra, they engineered alternative fuels, processing dried mammoth dung and bone marrow to burn hot and long. Even smarter was the ventilation. Any sealed warm space builds up human breath and humidity, which freezes and collapses the roof. So they created low-level ground vents to pull in cool oxygen and high roof gaps to exhaust humid air, a passive thermal chimney system built millennia before modern architecture. Outside, the blizzard rages. Inside, the shelter is warm. And as darkness falls, a unique pattern takes over. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans didn't sleep 8 hours straight. They slept in 2 4-hour blocks with a 2-hour waking window in the dead of night. During daytime, survival talk was strictly business, hunting routes, and tool prep. But in that midnight waking hour around the fire, conversations flipped entirely. 80% of nighttime talk was storytelling, myth-making, and art. The carved ivory figurines and glowing cave paintings that define our species weren't created on sunny summer days. They were born during long, frozen nights inside bone shelters. None of this was improvised. Building a mammoth house took weeks of heavy labor by dozens of people, meaning construction began in late summer based on meticulous calendar tracking. Deep pits dug down into permafrost acted as natural sub-zero freezers, storing meat for months without spoilage. Their clothing used tailored multi-layered hides. Inner layers fitted tight to trap air, outer oiled skins to repel moisture. A complete Ice Age suit weighed up to 15 pounds, custom-stitched with bone needles and sinew thread strong enough to endure years of Arctic wear. When the glaciers finally retreated and temperatures rose, this incredible masterclass in survival engineering wasn't lost to catastrophe. It simply became unnecessary as humans moved into lush green forests. Modern engineers who examine these ancient sites aren't just impressed, they are humbled. Because every time you step into a warm, insulated home during a winter storm, you aren't using a modern invention. You are enjoying a legacy handed down by ancestors who looked into the deadliest freeze on Earth and simply refused to break.